Hey, thanks for joining us. We had a few comments that we wanted to make before we answer any questions you have on any subject, any topic, anything that's on your mind. I have with me Tim McCabe from Peacham, Rob Chickering from East Montpelier, and most importantly, our commissioner, who's doing a great job over at the department. And this week, the U.S. Department of Energy reviewed Vermont's use of our recovery dollars in regard to energy efficiency and energy efficiency projects. And they've been doing this in all 50 states. They found that our efforts have been extraordinary, that we are now halfway through dispensing through very thoughtful projects the roughly $30 million in funds that we were lucky enough to get through the best congressional delegation in the country and President Obama, and that we have met the goals of having our energy efficiency projects executed, saving energy, putting dollars in communities' pockets, schools and municipalities, as well as Vermonters, and leading in the effort to use less energy more wisely. Let's remember that when we save $5 million, $4 million, $500,000, $5,000 on an energy efficiency project, those dollars go into a community's pocket every single year and forever. So I just want to applaud the work that's been done. I want to thank the department who's been working overtime, the hard-working state employees, some of whom are here, who've been working overtime to get these dollars out the door, get the projects analyzed, make the selections, and help to bring about our status as the leader, in my judgment anyway, in energy efficiency in the country. And to talk about a couple of those projects, first I'm going to ask the Commissioner to give you an overview of where we are, and then I'm going to ask both Tim and Rob to make a couple of comments about how it's affecting their communities in Peacham and Montpelier, East Montpelier. So, Commissioner, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks for coming today. I just want to thank very much the members of my department who've been working since 2009 when the ARA awards were given to Vermont to get the money out of the state coffers and into the communities. It's a lot of hard work, and many of them are here today. Kelly Launder, our Assistant Director, Andy Perchlick from the Clean Energy Development Fund, Michelle Hughes, Diane Cummings, Sherry Rockcastle, Diane Reynolds, really great team at the department. They've been working very hard to do this, and thank you for coming. The reason that we're here today is the Department of Energy recently came to the Department of Public Service, which serves as Vermont State Energy Office, and took a look at how we're doing in delivering the ARA funds on energy projects statewide. And that's routine. They're doing this in all 50 states. And the report back was really good news. We're about halfway through the time period. It was $32 million awarded to the state of Vermont in two separate blocks of programs, one for renewable energy projects in biomass and geothermal, and another big set in efficiency programs. And that $32 million is about just over $13 million actually expended, already out the door, and the remainder of the money is all committed and the projects are underway. And I've brought for you today a colored map by county so that you can see where the projects are. There's a list of where the projects are around the state, and what you'll see is that it truly is a statewide impact. And it's not just short-term stimulus, it's long-term energy savings, and I think that's really the important message for Vermonters. Investing dollars today in energy savings creates savings down the road too. And just for example, a retrofit on a school in Shoreham saves about $3,300 a year for that school. And we all know how school budgets are. That's not a small thing to that elementary school. And when you look at the retrofits that have been done statewide, about over 100 projects, over $500,000 of savings annually achieved by those projects. And those are not just savings that will be achieved this year, but will be achieved in years to come because we've been able to put the money on the ground. And so I think it's a story of a stimulus program working, not just now, but working for our future, reinvesting as the program was intended to. And Vermont workers here in state government and towns around the state really doing a great job to get these programs not just off the ground but completed statewide. And so I want to just ask Rob Chickering from East Montpelier to let you know about the project that they undertook. His project was on the renewable energy side in thermal, and then after that, Tim McKay will tell you about what's going on in Peacham, so you have a better sense of what this really means on the ground. Rob? Thanks.
Rob, for being here.
So I'm Rob Chickering from East Montpelier. Last summer, about the same time, we pretty much completed building an emergency services facility with our neighboring town, Calais. And because of this grant, we were able to install a heating system in that facility that uses wood pellets. It's backed up by propane as well in a seamless sort of way. And without the grant, I'm quite certain that we would not have been able to do that, that we would have a building now strictly heated by propane. So it's been very, very helpful, and we're excited about the prospect of having the wood pellets so that we don't have to rely on out-of-state and even out-of-country sources for fuel. The department was very, very helpful in getting this installed, and I think without the help, especially of Andy Perchlick, with some of the paperwork, it would have been a lot more challenging. But other than that, the reporting and so forth went very well. The installation went well, and we're quite pleased with it. So we thank everyone in the state of Vermont and the federal government who made that money available to us.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yep.
I'm Tim McKay from Peacham, and we have a town hall that's in a 150-year-old building, leaky. As you can imagine, our employees had frozen feet all the time. So we went in and tightened the building up, added insulation where we needed to. From our energy audit, they had identified several areas that could be improved. And then we also replaced our emergency lighting system to save on electric costs. Then we went down to the town garage and fixed their lighting system. They had a big bay of old-style fluorescent fixtures that we replaced with efficient ones. So we're going to be able to save somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a year in energy costs. In a town of 700 people, to come up with an extra $25,000 or $30,000 to do this kind of work without a grant just doesn't happen. So the grant provides a great stimulus for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Just a couple closing comments. There's a number of projects, as I said, statewide. The DOE report, if any of you want to see it afterwards, lists some others, including Allenbrook Elementary School, where a renewable energy project has been integrated into the curriculum for the students. The South Burlington wastewater facility, where they're actually able to use a digester system and microturbines for energy production. So there's a number of projects. It's really across the board, both on the renewable side and on the efficiency side, and all of the projects are making a difference. And just in closing, I think the DOE report really said it best. ERA is making a meaningful down payment on the nation's energy and environmental future through the state energy program that's being administered by Vermont's Department of Public Service. And that's really what the point of the funding was, and it's working here in Vermont. So thank you all for coming today. Questions?
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Rob. In closing, I think the ERA success is evidenced by the testimony you just heard. Creating jobs, putting Vermonters to work, having us buy local energy supplies instead of relying on countries that mostly don't like us, and being more frugal in our ability to put dollars in Vermonters' pockets instead of exporting them overseas. So you hear a lot from Washington lately, you hear a lot of complaining. This is an example of how government can work to make our lives better. Be happy to answer any questions.
Just a question on. I'm sorry. How big were the grants that went to East Montpelier and Peacham?
East Montpelier was $38,000. Is that right, roughly?
Roughly 38.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A little bit more, 38.7 maybe, but yes, in the neighborhood of 38,000.
Yeah, and Peacham was about
100,000.
Yeah.
And is there still
Your
money
connections.
left to go to communities? Or has it all been allocated?
The money is nearly 100% committed, and it is committed in the projects that are identified on the map for the efficiency programs statewide. We have a similar set of data for the renewable energy projects, also statewide.
But in terms of dollars out the door, about half of the money's out the door. So
Right.
jobs still ahead.
But if a town wanted to apply, is it sort of too late now?
A town should contact us if they have an interest in a program. As programs roll out, should certain towns not be able to fully utilize funds, there will be some opportunity. But the real story here is making sure that the commitments already made now actually happen on the ground.
And as you'll see from the map, you can hear Peacham and Montpelier, East Montpelier stories all across Vermont.
Do you know how many jobs this has created?
We haven't been able to do a full statewide economic impact, but we have seen on a testimonial basis what it really means. There was a gentleman who's an energy contractor down in the southern part of the state who indicated to us that the funding and the projects that he was able to work on really got him through the spring, got him to hire other folks that he wouldn't otherwise have been able to hire this past spring, and importantly provided job training for those workers in green energy projects that will be helpful going forward. So we haven't yet done the full economic impact. And we have an interest in doing that at the department, but we know already that we're creating jobs and job training right now.
Sounds like there's an enormous number of amount of labor involved
Yeah.
in just getting these grants awarded
Right.
and getting the money dispersed. Who pays for that? How much did it cost?
We can get you that information in terms of the dollars spent to date. The short answer is that the department staff, including limited service staff who've been brought on to handle this grant project, are the ones working on it, and that is a part of the grant overhead expense. The Department of Energy actually has commended the Department of Public Service for the path we took in that. The department originally had a relatively conservative staff assignment to the grant project and really tried to see what scale would be necessary rather than hiring 50 people right up front. And right now we have, Kelly, what's the staff number right now just on ARA?
We have 6 working, financial people, probably 8 working, and 5 of those are limited service.
Right. So 6 to 8 staff people at the department, 5 of which are specifically funded by the grant for this project and are the folks that interface with Peacham, with East Montpelier, and with other communities getting the grants done.
Does all the work have to be done by September?
There's 2 separate deadlines. There's an April deadline for one part of the grant and a September deadline for the larger part of the grant. So all funds do need to be expended during 2012, most of it by September. 2012.
Just want to add that Vermont has a huge advantage over other states by having community energy committees. We have now about 130 of them?
Absolutely.
130 plus across Vermont. We're just citizens working together to do the right thing for their community, and that's a huge driver in helping Vermont be a leader in energy efficiency, as well as renewables.
Has there been any discussion about a replacement for the Democratic Party chair?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Judy Bevins for her extraordinary service to the party. She had an extraordinary tenacity in getting the job done and, frankly, in reinvigorating the grassroots. I was always surprised as a candidate, particularly in the primary election when we were over 60 debates all over Vermont. Our chair lived up in the Kingdom, and you'd see her showing up one night in Bennington, the next night in Burlington, the next night up in Franklin County, and the next day she'd be down in Brattleboro. So I can't thank her enough for her service. In terms of what happens next, the vice chair, who's very capable, Jake Perkins, is going to take over, and the party will make a decision whenever they make those decisions. When is that, September? November. So Jake will be acting chair. He's attorney in Burlington, a very capable person, and I'm sure the party will be in good hands. As much attention as I pay to the party.